What is up, guys? We're here with Andrew. He won our latest local with Imperial. Take us through the list, King.
Going on. So yeah, took Imperial, not too different from some of my previous builds. Actually, you know what? There's a fair bit different. I was lying. But obviously some standard things here. So we're going with still our 4BT12 Demi V. I think it's still the most consistent way to draw. You almost always have a green on your stack, and yeah, you just don't always have jamming. So yeah, it's a good draw. Recent changes, I've switched to 2BT16 Veemon. I don't normally love this one, but for a few reasons we'll get to a little bit later. The DP is just a little bit more important at the moment than it has been in previous formats. And the getting memory is good. There's nothing wrong with that. The promo saves you a memory, so it's much of a muchness. But at the moment, yeah, the DP mainly for Hexeblaumon, which we'll get to a little bit later. So he's kind of cool. 2 of. 4 of your BT12s, again, not going to touch on that, that's standard with every list. 2 BT16 worms. I love the recursion. I think it's highly undervalued to be able to evolve from your trash with Imperial, because otherwise you have to search, whereas sometimes your opponent searches for you by hitting one of your level 4s in security, and then you just get access to it, so I think that's great. You could kind of run this as a one-off, but I think 2 is good. 4 BT12 Worm, again, nothing to explain there. I'm sure everyone's seen that a million times in the locals. 2 promos. This has become standard now because it can search Primogenitor, which is arguably the best card in the deck. So pretty common, and you know, 1 of 10 rookies that searches your Jewel Tamer. Still going with the 2 Toge Mogus. I think this is still an extremely high value card. As mentioned in previous videos, you know, even if it has no sources, it still does a whole heap of things. It blocks, it strips materials, and it can stun cards. So I think that's the better of the 2. Lydramon, I get it. Again, if you go promo Veemon, you go Lydramon, sure, awesome draw engine, but I just don't see as much value in that, and I've had a lot of success without it. We'll go 4 BT12 XVs. Again, very stock standard. You wouldn't run any less. But not really much to be said there. You can run EX1 XV at 1 or 2. People have done really well with that. I still just don't love that in a format full of aces. It's just not that good. Stingmon, look, this is where everyone's ratios always change. Like I'm the same as previous, so I value the draw probably the most. So I go 3 of the structure deck and 2 of the memory game. Again, and especially with my build now that focuses on Hexeblaumon quite a bit. The inheritable from your structure deck still is live with your Hexeblaumon, whereas the BT12 one is not, because it's not Imperialmon and it doesn't have free in its trait. So you continue to get value out of this Stingmon. You lose value with this Stingmon. Powdramons, look, 2 structure decks, 4 BT16s, nothing strange about that. I have opted to go with 2 Dyna B, so I've upped the level 5 count, and I've chosen with Dyna B over the BT12 Powdramon this time. Reason for that is I'm trying to control the board a little bit more at the moment, so having the punish for the trashing security is quite good. But however, the thing I'm mostly after is the gaining plus 3000 DP for the turn. So again, once we go into Hexeblaumon, that's kind of relevant, especially like when you swing to security, because he cannot gain the jamming from XV, because again, he's not within the archetype. And this deck is almost more Hexeblaumon control with an Imperial base. With that said, we've dropped down all the way down to 1 of each dragon mode. So again, just gives us a bit of versatility to go wide or control the board. But I didn't really find myself missing the extra copies at the moment, because 9 times out of 10, now what we want to do is go through 1 of our 3 Hexeblaumons from EX7. This card's insane for so many reasons. Most of the time, your opponent just can't swing. You know, even in our match, we were down to like, what, 1 or 2 security, and then Hexeblaumon just kind of put a stop on that for 5 or 6 turns.
Yeah, we just sat there, and I had quartz, we had Hexeblaumon, we were just doing nothing.
Yeah. So look, in a DNA deck where you're going to have 6 or 7 materials under this, plus stripping your opponent's materials, like it's just almost you know, too good to not run together. And skipping ahead for just a moment, your Davis and Ken. So when you would digivolve into a blue or green Digimon, so it doesn't have to be part of the archetype, you just get to suspend and gain a memory. So if you've already got one of these established, whenever you go to your 5 into Hexeblaumon, you're going to be costing 4, which is already fair because it's an insane card, but you get to tap one of these guys and suddenly that 4 is being refunded by 1, 2, or 3, depending on how far you are through the game. So the synergy is incredibly good. And yeah, so they can hold off. That's the other reason I run this, is, of course, is so that you can beat Mother Shoto combos. So you're bottom decking the Shotos so that you can actually, swing freely the next turn, ideally. And even if you're not, this is, due to the Ice Clad and having 6 or 7 materials under it, sometimes you force them to start going through their mothers as a resource because it's going to kill them in battle, because Ice Clad changes the battle condition, not affecting the mothers. And if they let it go through, it's naturally a sec +1. So very, very good card, very threatening card. Swinging is very free as well, because even if it's suspended, chances are your opponent can't actually attack it next turn, because again, they're very unlikely to have more sources than this. So yeah, this card's really bonkers. I really like it. And of course, the only thing sad about it is it's not searchable by anything in the deck except BT3 Davis, because you can search any blue Digimon. So yeah, insane card. Apart from that, down to 2 fighter mode at the moment, because of course we have dropped dragon modes. So you can still go over your 5s or one of your 2 dragon modes. Still very, very good card. Still the best ace you can run in this deck. But you could run Mega Gargo and a few others, but I think these 2 are fine. And then our 1 Paladin Ace, again, highly searchable in this deck. Generally don't need multiple. I could see a world where you run multiple of this for the really grindy games, but it just generally doesn't happen. You just want to kind of close out these games with this deck. So he's fine. Team lineup, same as always. 2 memory setters for BT16, because the card's super cracked, and yeah, memory setting is good. 2 primos, same as before. Still happy with this. I was up at 3 after a while with the previous build. I ended up changing it to 3 and dropping HPD. However, I've dropped HPD and one of the primos in this one, because now with the Hexeblaumon, you can't use it to get into Hexeblaumon. So even though it is ridiculously good, I am a little bit more cautious with it, because again, I don't want to funnel myself into that where I can only go into dragon modes now that I'm running fewer. So 2 seems right. And then just the 1 Hammer Spark to round it out again. So yeah, focus on consistency, focus on draw power, and now with the Dynabe and with the Veemon, these are a way together. If you do this all in the 1 turn, you got plus 5,000 DP on the Hexeblaumon, so depending on checking security, even with just the V, it'll sit at 14,000, which is, then you basically say, hey, if I hit one of their 7s in security, I hit it. It is what it is. And then with Dynabe, it's just never going to die. And ideally you have, but if it's not Dynabe, you might have this Paladin under it, in which case you still have Partition. The Partition is not linked to the archetype. It just says as long as it's got blue or green, it's got Partition. So you can still get hit with a Sec Bomb on one of these with Hexeblaumon, and you'll still at least Partition. And you might be able to just do it again, partition the 2 memory ones, make a new Dynabe or a new Paladin, go into another Hexeblaumon, like rinse and repeat. Just Imperial things.
Just Imperial things.
Just Imperial things, just doing the memory printer at the same time. So that's what I've got. I'm quite happy with it at the moment. If I was to enter Original or an Ultimate Cup tomorrow, I don't think I would change anything at this stage. Though in saying that, I probably haven't gotten as many games in with this as I probably would like. But so far, I'm very happy.
Very base. Now, I just wanted to touch on Hidden Potential discovered, which you mentioned you cut it. Hidden Potential discovered says the next time one of your green Digimon would Digivolve. So you can actually go on a Hexeblaumon with it, which is pretty funny.
You could. I've found that less and less I have the extra body ready at the right time. Like, I think it's a really good card, and I still don't think you'd necessarily be wrong for running it. I've just found more often than not, it's the right setup is just not there most of the time.
That's fair.
And it's just one of these things where
kind of does what you want with that anyway, right?
Yeah. Look, Primo does it to a great extent, regardless, and you get those added benefits of Primo. So, yeah, look, and dropping down with the structure deck Dragon mode as well too kind of gives me less pause for it, because I think the impact of going for so many swings with Dragon mode versus just getting into the Hexeblaumon is fine. Because even if it's a 0 and I pass on 4 for Hexeblaumon, like, I'm generally okay with that, because it's just so hyper impactful. The memory is not usually super relevant. It's more just, hey, do you have a solid out? In the mirrors, that's a whole other thing, because you're gonna have bloody these tamers stripping each other's sources and all the rest.
Yeah, makes sense.
but I haven't felt the need for it, and it's it's just one of those things where sometimes you just manage to put the fives together. This was the common problem: is you just managed to put the five stack together, and you'd have to choose between kind of getting the second swing in or using HPD because you wouldn't have the extra body to just use for free.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I think HPD is still amazing and broken, and probably still should be banned. It's just finding less and less of a home in this deck as we move forward, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's my only thoughts on it. And yeah, just with Dragon Modes, weirdly enough, I just found it odd, but one of each seemed fine. Just toolboxing, if that's going to put a hope of pressure on them to have the Dragon Mode, the BT16 one, then, I think one is usually more than enough. But I'm sure there'll be a game where I'm kicking myself for not having it. But in the meantime, Hexes at 3, I suppose the last thing I should touch on is because it's so hard to find it, because you only really have Davis,
Yeah.
you need to run it at higher numbers. Like, if I could just run 2, I feel like 2 would be the perfect number to use in a game. You shouldn't need more than 2. But the maths will tell you that if you don't run 3, you won't see it as often as you need to. Because, again, I've got a million searches for all these things. I've got 2 cards that might hit me a Hexeblaumon, which is these Davises.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you got to run it by the numbers. Opposed to, our one of Paladins, because, again, everything in this deck can search this guy.
Yeah, literally
So running
everything.
one's fine. Yeah. And so far, that math has kind of worked out. Like, there's probably even an argument for 4, but I think 3 is fine.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, congrats on the big win, and good luck in future tourneys.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Have a good night.